Right, so in this video I'm going to use Gaussian elimination to determine the inverse of a 3 by 3 matrix. Now I'm going to do that on this particular 3 by 3 matrix here, which I've used in a previous video, and what I've done in a previous video is worked out the determinant of this particular 3 by 3 matrix. Now I'm going to use that determinant in another video to work out the inverse, but in this particular video I'm not going to use that determinant. We're just going to use Gaussian elimination, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to take this 3 by 3 matrix, and I'm just going to take this little bit here out. I'm going to draw a line down here, and I'm going to put in the identity matrix here. So the identity matrix will look like this. So really what I've done is I've made an augmented matrix, if you like. You don't necessarily have to do it this way. Some people write this matrix down and then this matrix down separately and work through this process, but this is the way I like to do it. So I've drawn this augmented matrix here, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this matrix here. Well, I'm going to work on both, but I'm going to work on this matrix here in order to change it into the identity matrix, and whatever I do to this matrix here I'm going to do to this one as well, and what we'll end up on the right hand side here is the inverse of this matrix here. So what I want to end up with here is 1 1 1 along the diagonal and all the other numbers zeros. So I want to turn this into this, if you like. So let's start. Now first thing I'm going to do, I'll write down what I'm going to do in each case. So we're going to take this matrix here, and I need a 1 in the middle here. So what I think I'll do is I'll take row 2 and row 3, and I'll just interchange them. So what I end up with here is 2 0 3, line down here, 1 0 0. I'm doing nothing with that one. So I'm putting row 3 here, so it's -3 1 -4, and then I'll end up with 0 0 1 here, and then row 2 will be here, so that's -1 3 -4 and 0 1 0. So that's the first step. I have a 1 here along this diagonal already, so that's fine. Okay, so let's do the next step then. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take row 1 and I'm going to add row 3. So I'm going to take row 1 and I'm going to add row 3 to it, because if I add this to this here I'll end up with a 1. That will give me another 1 along this diagonal here. So let's do that. So 2 minus 1 is 1, 0 plus 3 is 3, 3 minus 4 is -1, 1 plus 0 is 1, 0 plus 1 is 1, and 0 plus 0 is 0. Okay, everything else should remain the same. -3, 1, -4, 0 0 1, -1 3, -4 0 1 0. Right, so that's that step done. So let's continue on. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take row 2 and I'm going to subtract 3 times row 3. So I'm going to take row 2 and I'm going to subtract 3 times row 3. That will give me a 0 here, which is what I want. So let's do that. So again, the first row will remain the same, 1 3 -1, 1 1 0. Now row 2 is the one that's going to change, so I've got to be a little bit careful here. Row 2 -3 times row 3. Well, -3 times -1 is +3, -3 plus 3 is 0. -3 times +3 is 9, -9, so it's 1 minus 9, which will give me -8 here. -4 times -3 times -4, so that's -4 times +12, which will give me 8. These are two zeros, so that won't change. 0 minus 3 times 1 so that gives me minus 3. 1 minus 3 times 0, that will just stay as 1. Here I'll have minus 1, 3, minus 4, 0, 1, 0. Okay, next step. So what I'm going to do in this step is I'm going to take row 3 and I'm going to add row 1 to it, because I'm going to put a 0 here. 1 minus 1 will give me 0 here. So I'm going to take row 3 and I'm going to add row 1. So again, the first and second rows won't change. So I got 1, 3, minus 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, minus 8, 8, 0, minus 3, 1. Now 1 minus 1 will give me 0, 3 plus 3 will give me 6, minus 1 minus 4 will give me minus 5, 1 plus 0 will give me 1, 1 plus 1 will give me 2, 0 plus 0 will give me 0. Okay, now next step then, what I'm going to do is, if I look along here and on row 2 here I've got a minus 8 and a plus 8. What I might do here is just divide across here by minus 8. That'll give me a 1 here. So again, you don't have to necessarily do the same steps I do. You can, very often people will do different steps. So I'm going to take row 2 and I'm going to divide by minus 8. So if I do that, I get 1, 3, minus 1 here. I get 1, 1, 0 here. I get 0, 1, minus 1, 0, minus, it's minus 3 divided by minus 8, so that will give me a plus 3 over 8, and I'll get a 1 over 8 here. No, I'm dividing by minus, aren't I? So that will be actually a minus 1 over 8. Here this doesn't change, so it's 0, 6, minus 5, 1, 2, and 0. Okay, next step. Now I'm going to take row 1 and I'm going to subtract row 2. So I'm going to put a 0, I'm going to end up with a 0 here. Minus 1 minus minus 1 will give me a 0 up here. So I'm going to take row 1 and I'm going to subtract row 2. So let's do that. So row 1 minus row 2. 1 minus 0 will give me 1. 3 minus 1 will give me 2. Minus 1 minus minus 1, so that's minus 1 plus 1, which is 0. 1 minus 0, which is 1. 1 minus 3/8, well, 1 is just 8/8. 8/8 minus 3/8, that'll give me 5/8. 0 minus minus 1/8 will give me plus 1/8. Everything else is the same then. 0, 1, minus 1, 0, 3/8, minus 1/8. And here I'll end up with 0, 6, minus 5, 1, 2, and 0. Okay, next step. Now, I am going to get rid of this 6 here. I'm going to turn this into a 0. So I'm going to take row 3 and I'm going to subtract 6 times row 2. So that should get rid of that for me. So let's see. So I'm going to take row 3 and row 2. So I'm going to change row 3, so rows 1 and 2 won't change. So 1, 2, 0, 1, 5/8, 1/8, 0, 1, minus 1, 0, 3/8, minus 1/8. Okay, so now I'm going to take 0 minus 6 times 0, which is just 0. 6 minus 6 times 1, so that'll give me 0, which is what I want. Minus 5 minus 6 times minus 1. Well, minus 6 times minus 1 is plus 6, so it's minus 5 plus 6, which is 1. So that's handy. I end up with 1, 1, 1 along here. Now do the same here. So you got 1 minus 6 times 0, so that won't change, it's just 1. You've got 2 minus 6 times 3/8. You can do that on your calculator, but what you'll end up with is a quarter there. 0 minus 6, sorry, you've got to do minus 6 times minus 1/8, so it's going to be plus 6/8. So 0 plus 6/8, which will just give me plus 6/8 here. Okay, next one. Let's see. Okay, almost there. We got to turn, we got everything zeros except these two here, and we've got ones along here, so we got to turn these two into zeros. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn this one here into a 0. So I'm just going to take row 2 and I'm going to add row 3. So that'll give me 1 minus 1, which is 0 here. Okay, so let's do that. Oops. So row 2 and row 3. I'm going to change row 2, so row 1 doesn't change. So it's 1, 5/8 and 1/8. Row 2 is going to change. Now I'm going to add that to row 3. So 0 plus 0 is 0, 1 plus 0 is 1, minus 1 plus 1 is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1, 3/8 plus a quarter, well, a quarter is 2/8, so it's 3/8 plus this actually I think is, let me just double check this. So this actually should be minus 1/4 here. This is actually minus here. So what I did here was row 3 minus 6 times row 2, so I do end up with minus and minus a quarter here, yeah. Okay, so what I'm doing here is row 2 plus row 3. So it's 3/8 plus, let me see, sorry, 3/8 minus 2/8, 3/8 minus 1/4, that will give me minus, sorry, just let me just work this out here for a second. I have 3/8 and I've got to add minus a quarter, which is 2/8, so it's 3/8 minus 2/8, which is 1/8. That's it, yeah, 1/8. Okay, now I've got row 2 plus row 3, so I got minus 1/8 plus 6/8, so that gives me 5/8 here. Okay, so almost there. Let's see, one more step I think should do it. Let me just fill these in. We didn't have to do anything with these. It was just 0, 0, 1, and it was 1 minus a quarter here and 6/8 here. It was 6/8, wasn't it? Yep, 6/8. So last step, just got to turn this 2 here into a 0. So what I'm going to do here is take this row here, row 1, and I'm going to subtract twice row 2. So I'm going to take row 1 minus twice row 2. Okay, so hopefully this should be it. So row 1 minus twice row 2. So 1 minus twice 0 is 1. 2 minus twice 1 is 0. 0 here as well. 1 minus twice 1, that will give me minus 1. 5/8 minus 2/8, that will give me 3/8. And 1/8 here minus twice 5/8, so twice 5/8 is 10/8, so 1/8 minus 10/8 is minus 9/8. Okay, here I'll end up with 0, 1, 0, 1, 1/8 and 5/8. Here I'll have 0, 0, 1 and 1 minus a quarter and 6/8 here. Okay, finally we got there. So the inverse, if we call our original matrix A, this one here would be A inverse. You write it like this, A inverse if you like, and that would be equal to this one here, minus 1, 3/8 minus 9/8, 1, 1/8, 5/8, and 1 minus 1/4, and 6/8 here. So that's our A inverse. That's the inverse. So in other words, if we take our original 3 by 3 matrix, let's call it A, we multiply it by this here, A inverse, we should get the identity matrix, this matrix here. So this is our solution here. So that's called the Gaussian elimination, Gauss-Jordan elimination method for finding the inverse of a matrix. In another video I'm just going to do a different method called the matrix of we're going to use minors, cofactors and adjugates to work out the inverse. That's in another video.